All right, I suppose I should go ahead and get started because we're 4 minutes past right now. I don't know if you all over there can hear me. You might want to move this way just because I know there's no speaker over there or anything. I can project, but I also don't want to blow out this microphone that they're using for the video. All right, so my name's Chrissy. I work for 6 Feet Up. I'm a senior developer there. I've been doing theming with Plone for almost 9 years now. And so I'm going to show off a little bit of how to get started inside of Plone, of changing the Plone site to make it look more like your branding for your company. So here we just have a plain Plone site, nothing special. So the themes are managed in Site Setup. I'm currently just logged in as admin, so I'm going to go to Site Setup and the theming control panel. So right now we have just one theme, Barceloneta. That's the default theme for Plone 5. Through this tool, you can see all of the themes that you have installed if you have additional themes installed. You can also add new themes through this interface, but only one theme can be activated at a time. So right now you can see next to Barceloneta that this one is the current active theme. You can also upload zip files here if you have a zip file of a theme. That would work too. So I'm going to create a new theme, and I'm just going to do this by creating a copy of Barceloneta so I have a nice starting point of existing styles to start from. Otherwise you can start a new theme, but that will give you a completely unstyled site. So I'm just going to call it Demo and set it to be immediately enabled. And this is going to take me to the interface for actually editing the files here. Now it gives me a bit by default, like a lot of different XML files, some less files, but there are three files that are really important that are necessary for the Diazo theme, and that is the index.html, which is the static HTML to start from, the manifest.cfg, which I can open these up, show them to you really quick. You can see it's just HTML, the manifest.cfg, which has settings for the theme, so like that title I entered here is in here, that will show up in the control panel. And then the rules.xml, which is used for mapping all of the dynamic content from Plone into the theme. So you're basically just grabbing little bits of Plone and putting them into that static theme to display them. And so this is just the default rules file that comes with Barceloneta. So I'm going to open up this rules.xml file. And so if we look back at the home page, refresh this, we have this big hero welcome here. And let's say we don't want that, we want to take that out. So I can find that I can either do a drop in the rules here and say to drop that element, or it's also in the index.html if I want to find it in here. So here is a div with the ID hero. I can just remove that and save, and when I go refresh the page, now it has gone away. Things like this, I mentioned you can do it either in the index or in the rules. You'll find if you're doing theming this way, there are multiple ways to do several things. There's not necessarily always a right or a wrong way. It's whatever you are comfortable with. So now let's change the site logo. You can do this in here, but Plone 5 has a nice, easy way of just changing the logo, and that is also in Site Setup in the Site Control panel. And this has various settings for the site, but you see one of them is for the logo. I'll make this a little bit bigger for you. So here's a place where you can upload a logo. I'm just going to throw the 6 Feet Up logo in there. And so now you can see my logo has already been replaced with the 6 Feet Up logo. So now let's make a change to the footer content. So down here at the bottom we have the placeholder content that comes from Plone, just information about Plone. Now this is its own template, and it can be edited in a few different ways. There is an add-on called collective.jbot if you've used that in Plone 4, but unfortunately it's not yet working for Plone 5. But that's something to be on the lookout for. That will be a very easy way to edit some templates if you need to make changes there. For this demo, I'm just going to make the change. I'm going to make a change in the rules.xml. So I'm just going to find footer in here. And so right now, where are we? Here we go. So right now this rule is taking the portal footer wrapper from Plone and putting it into the portal footer div inside of my theme. I'm going to take that out, so I'm not actually bringing in all of the stuff from Plone. And now I can edit the index.html where that portal footer is and add my own content here. I can save that and refresh, and now I can see that my footer has been updated here at the bottom. Okay, so that's just basic template changes. Now we can start actually making some CSS changes. One thing that you can do, so inside of Site Setup, there is the Resource Registries control panel. And this is another thing that's new in Plone 5 because it is, and this is using less. And there is a tab in here for less variables. So since I made a copy of Barceloneta, it's using the values that are set here in these variables. So if I want to make a quick change to something, I can do it right here, and then we'll see the changes in the site if I do it all correctly. For example, let's see. Okay, Plone left toolbar expanded. So that is the width of the toolbar over here to the left. If we want that to show up even wider in the site, I can change that, click the Save button, and then another thing here is you have to make sure that you are in development mode so that these changes will actually take place right away. And save after you make that change. So now I'll go to the home page. Nope, that didn't work. Ah, yes, thank you. One more step. Was that on the Plone? I think so. I haven't done this one a whole lot yet. It's okay. Just wait a minute. There we go. Yeah, since we have the develop CSS, the page takes a little bit longer to actually load. So that was normal. Just don't turn this on in production. But now you can see that I have a much wider toolbar over there. And so you can do that with any of those settings that were in that panel of making changes. You have different color options that you can change just to make some quick changes here in the site like this. Okay, so now I'm just going to add a new CSS file. I'm going to put it in my Diazo theme. So right here in this interface, I can say add new file. I'm going to call it main.css. And I've got some content I have thrown in there. Just some basic stuff so we can make sure that the CSS file is working once it's in the theme. And so now I'm going to add that in my rules.xml. So up here at the top, we already have some code that is pulling in all of the links and all of the styles from Plone and putting them into the static theme. And so I'm just going to add mine here. So I'm basically just saying the same thing. So after all of the children of the head, so this is going to happen after these other two rules here, I'm just adding in a new CSS file. And this is looking at the absolute path to the theme that I had created. And then main.css. And actually, I think I just named my theme demo on this one. So now I should be able to go refresh the site and see some of those changes that I put in. So now you can see, things are starting to change a little bit more as we go. I've got the blue background, some rounded corners. And so we can continue doing this, making changes to the CSS. And, if you're not too familiar with CSS, it's really surprising how much you can change, just with the styles and how much different your site can look. Let's see, I'm going to add in some fonts. So for this one, I've grabbed a couple of Google fonts, and actually this may not work because I'm not connected to the internet. But we should be able to still add in So I'm just throwing in the link here that I got from Google, grabbing the Railway font and the Roboto font. Like I said, yeah, it's going to look kind of ugly. Since I'm not connected to the internet, I can't pull those down right now. But that's nice and easy to do, to change the fonts. See, I'll make some changes to the navigation. So for example, I've made it flex so that each of the elements will expand to fit in the area, and we've completely changed the styles. I'll zoom in here too, you can see what that looks like. And so I'm just going to do this to a few elements as we go down, make the changes, refresh, we can see those changes happen right away. And so here I've changed the search. It does should do a fancy little slide out here now, so when I do a search. So there we go. Let's see, we can do one more thing. We can remove the login link, so if we don't want, if we're not going to have a lot of users in the site that are going to be logging in, you can just type /login for your content editors. So right now I'm just doing inspect element so I can make sure I can grab the ID of this particular item. This is Portal Anon Tools. So I'm going to copy that ID from right here in my inspector. And in my rules.xml, I'm just going to throw this in here. It doesn't really matter where it goes. I'm just going to do a drop. So from the content, I'm going to drop the element with the ID, Portal Anon Tools. And so now when I refresh, that will go away. So I mentioned it doesn't matter so much what the order of the rules here, because when Diazo looks through all of this, looks through all of the rules, it doesn't look at necessarily the order from top to bottom. But first it'll do all of the drops, it will do all of the befores, and it has a certain pattern that it goes through. The only time that it really is important is like in this example here where I'm doing an after multiple times on the same element. Then the order is going to matter. If you want any more information on this, there is training.plone.org. Eric had mentioned it in the keynote this morning that we made a lot of changes, like getting ready for the trainings this week. So all of the stuff I've gone over you can find on training.plone.org for an intro to theming. What things you'll want to watch out for are, for example, the responsiveness. It's not so much an issue here. I know before there, see things are kind of getting just outside of the box on the right. So, as you're theming, make sure to go through and check that it works on all browser sizes. I mean, you can see Barceloneta is kind of set up with a fixed width that changes, as you change sizes. And not my personal preference, but, it's completely up to you. Okay, do we have any questions? Yes?
Just a real stupid question. When you were editing your CSS there, you were selecting things that were commented out, and then all of a sudden they weren't commented out. What were you doing?
Command/.
Command/.
Yeah, and that works in various editors too. Like I use Atom, and I know it works in TextMate for, just quickly I can select text, and so comment/, that will comment it out, comment/ again to uncomment.
Command/?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
How do you export all this so you can use it in another site or another server?
So if you have added everything directly here into the control panel, you can download it as a zip file and then re-upload it. If it's something that you're doing regularly, I recommend not doing everything through the web, but doing it all, using Mr. Bob to create a theme package, have it in version control. But this is a nice, quick and dirty way to get started and going. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
So what's the strategy as far as, or your approach as far as, you're creating the HTML file, and CSS to go with it. Maybe a designer does that and hands it off to you. So, I mean, do you, for that kind of base CSS, do you just embed, do you have that as part of the index.html and then layer the Plone specific stuff on top of it? Or, you know, like what, I know some files you only want to bring in specific context, but for stuff that's global, like, is there any reason not to just have that as a static thing that's brought in and skip the resource registry entirely?
So the resource registries are very helpful because they provide caching and merging of the files. I mean, ideally, like that main.css, I could add that to the registry, and so that when everything gets compiled, it would all get merged down into a single file. So that's the benefit there. And I'm not super familiar with the new resource registries and how they do caching, but the older, like Portal CSS, would provide caching on all of the files. I know there is something like that in here. I'm just not super familiar with how it works. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I don't even know how long I was supposed to go. I know it wasn't too long, but I guess oh, one more thing. So for the whole conference, we do have a survey app. It's ploneconf.6feetup.com so that you can go rate all of the talks that you go to. So please go ahead and do that for mine and do them for the next couple days as well. All right, thank you.